we said we're talking about how to deal with the loss of a loved one, and when we face things like guilt and fear. Last night we went through the process. Last week we went through the process of pain, how to accept pain, to purify ourselves. Pain comes not as a punishment, which is what we've been taught. Every time we have pain, we're punished. It's not that way. Pain is actually the best tool to grow spiritually. Pain teaches us to detach from things if we understand. That's why we have pain. But if we resist pain, if we fight pain, if we, I don't deserve this, then you go into turmoil, you go into stress, you go into suffering, in which case it goes through a downward spiral. And once you're really down, it's really hard to pull yourself up. So the spiritual value is always, again, here we talk about who we are every week, to remind ourselves we are spirit, living in a material world. We are spirit. And every week we must be reminded. Why? Because the human mind is such that when we just go out there and we deal with the material world again, and we deal with all kinds of people, our mind starts to filter all the things of the material world, and we've forgotten our spirit again. The great Saint Ramana Maharishi, how did he do this? He kept on reflecting all the time. Who am I? Who am I really? Am I this body? Am I this mind? Really, who am I? Especially when facing death. Because death, you think it's final, right? When you lose someone, you think it's final. It's final in their physical body in this world, but it is not final. It's not final, and that is spirit. We are not final. All the scriptures you will read will tell you what? We live forever and ever. Amen. But not as we see this body. This body is this lifetime. Wow. And we're really lucky to have a good body. So pain comes along with the body. Pain comes along with human experience. It's just part and parcel of our human experience. But with pain, we also have pleasure. We also have joy. We also have such great things. The whole of the Bhagavad Gita teaches us. You know, what happens with our minds? 100 good things may happen to us. We will forget it if one bad thing happens. So we are attacked by the negativity of the mind. It's always pulling us downwards. But with education and with remembering, like Ramana Maharishi says, who am I? Who am I? Constantly on that basis, every day, maybe 100 times a day, to remind yourself in time, that feeling that you are spirit and connected to the divine consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, God, is there. It's there all the time. And it doesn't matter what you are doing anymore, where you are, what you are saying, because you just flow with what is meant to say, you're meant to say. The other thing you don't worry about when you touch the divine is because you, at that point, are so aware that everybody else is divine, that everything that will come from your mind and your mouth will be for the betterment of the person. So even if they take something wrongly from you, you're not going to be attached to that. And that is the real freedom that comes with spiritual practice. You see, all of us, even, we're talking about guilt today. You see, when we feel guilty, we're really feeling, okay, we did something that wasn't so good, or we didn't feel happy about. Not all guilt is bad, by the way. So there's something that we have done. However, guilt comes because we're constantly focusing on what people think of us and how they are going to react to what we're thinking. So we try to fake unconsciously, this is not consciously, how we should be feeling. So we're not honest to ourselves, you know. So many people do learn to let go, but because they feel, let me tell you this story. Maybe I can explain it better in a story. There was this lady, She'd lost her husband, and it was for a period of, after 6 months, she was getting better. She was getting better. It was her birthday, okay? It was her birthday. And her parents called her up. Birthdays are always difficult the first year, right? So her parents called her up and said, your husband's not here. I'm going to we're going to take you for dinner to a restaurant you've never been to. So they brought her over here to Spain, took her to a lovely restaurant. It was an Indian restaurant, actually. She'd never been there. The parents hadn't been there. Now, our parents told the restaurant owners, this is the first time we're here, and it is my daughter's birthday. She lost her husband 6 months ago. The restaurant owner just brought to the table a bottle of champagne and 2 red roses, okay? A bottle of champagne and 2 red roses. Every birthday, her husband bought her a bottle of champagne and 2 red roses. So her heart went, oh, my husband's here, but she was so frightened to admit it. She was frightened to be happy. She thought she shouldn't be happy. It's her birthday. She should be suffering. Husband's not around. But he was around, and her soul told her he was around. But looking at everybody so serious, even her parents, thinking she should be still grieving, she felt she had to grieve. So the whole evening, instead of being joyful, oh my God, I got such a great sign from my husband, I'm imagining it. This is all going on in her mind. This can't be truthful. So she came to see me. And when she told me this story, I said, what? You lost the opportunity. She said, Nalanie, was it really him? I said, what are the chances? You tell me, what are the chances of you going to a restaurant you'd never been before, and they offer you a bottle of, cava, cheap champagne, but still, right? And then they give you 2 roses, which is what your husband does for you every year. What are the chances of that? You tell me. She said, zilch, 1 in a million? And I said, yeah. So he was talking to you. And she said, I just felt so guilty to be happy. I felt guilty. He'd just gone 6 months. And I said, okay, let's reverse the situation. Let's say you're dead and your husband is here. And you are flying, you're meeting all the dead friends and relatives and ancestors, and you're having a great time, but you can't communicate with your husband on earth. And you're trying to tell him, be happy for me. Be happy for me. You imagine, how would you feel? Would you want to see your husband crying and sobbing because you can't move on unless he's happy, can you? And she goes, no. So I said, so have a good laugh with me. And she actually did laugh. She was laughing and crying. So you see, sometimes when people lose a lost one, they actually feel guilty for being happy again. It takes them time because society tells them they should be miserable. And misery, pain is something that will live with you all the time. You lose someone, it's always going to be in there. That pain is going to be in there, although it gets better with the passing of years. But remember, if you went first, and if you really love someone, wouldn't it break your heart to see them crying every day? It would break mine. I always say to people, if I go, please celebrate. I want music, I want song, I want dance. I lived a beautiful life. And I asked her, did your husband live a beautiful life? And she said, yes, he did. Was he a good man? Yes, he was. She said, we had a fantastic marriage. So I said, great. So now be a little happy for him. So you see, sometimes this kind of guilt is not healthy because it just prolongs your suffering. In life, even in relationships that have been broken up, I feel people, when they leave one partner or they want to break it up, there's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt. And I said, but it's over. Let me tell you a story about this girl. She was going out with this young man for 4 years. And at the end of the 4 years, she just felt, maybe he's not the one for me. They were engaged to be married. And she got scared. She started shaking every night. She couldn't sleep. And she felt guilty. He's so nice, he's so good to me, but I really can't do this anymore. So she developed an eating disorder. She didn't have the courage to tell him. So when she came to see me, it was because of the eating disorder. And we discovered it was really because she didn't want to tell him the truth. So I said, why can't you tell him the truth? Isn't it better that he knows now than when you marry him, and then after a few months, and when babies come and children come, if you think it's difficult now, I tell you, with babies and children, it's far more difficult. It's far more difficult. You need to be honest to him. Oh, Nalanie, he said if I ever should leave him, in the past he would commit suicide, he would die, he can't bear life. I said, I've heard this 100 times in my life. So anyway, she said, what do I have to do? I said, if you want to be well again, you have to be truthful. She said, I really can't think of him as a lover. I think of him as a brother. I said, then you really can't marry him. You're marrying your brother. So anyway, what she did was, we did some creative visualization where she visualized herself telling him, having the courage to voice her thoughts. So she did voice her thoughts. And of course he cried, all the usual drama, but she did it. Once she did it, she was relieved. And guess what? 2 months later, he had a new girlfriend. 2 months. And she hadn't met anybody for a long time after that. So do you see, sometimes we see things, we feel guilt, but we don't know there is a better plan. And really the other woman that he met was more suited to him. So he was actually happier. She had done him a favor. But we get so stuck in our little boxes that we don't want to expand. And I'd like to tell you another story before we go into the questions, because I have a few questions tonight. Our guru always tells the story of the two candles, of the world of the candles, the light of the candles. I'd like to tell you my version of it. So I'll start by lighting a candle. And then I'll lift it up. So, in a dark room, there was a team of candles, all different colors. I just got a red one, right? But all different colors, and they were all having a conference. In this conference, they were thinking, oh, we need light. Let's discuss light. We've heard about it in our scriptures, in our books. We've talked about light, but there's no light in our lives. It's only dark. Where do we get light from? So year after year, they had these huge conferences of candles discussing light. So one day, this little red candle got up and said, I'm so tired of hearing, where are we going to find the light? Where are we going to find the light? Where are we going to find the light? Why don't we just leave the dark room and maybe we can find the light? Oh no, you can't leave this dark room. Why? Said the candle. Because we don't know what's out there. And we heard that is really scary. It is really scary. It is really dark. You don't have light. How are you going to get through the dark tunnel? We heard the tunnel is so black. And so this little red candle said, well, I'd rather die trying getting the light than never to live at all. Because I'm tired of talking. I'm tired of asking. I'm tired of these conferences. I'm tired of all the trainings. Nothing is happening. So this lovely candle leaves the house and all, be careful, you're going to get hurt, be careful. I'm doing it with all the courage. It walks down this, opens the door and walks down this dark tunnel. Now to start, the candle has the walls to hold on to. So, okay, this isn't so bad, I can feel the walls, I'll just keep walking straight, still dark. Suddenly, there's no more walls. The walls had all collapsed. And the candles in the dark, and the candle's saying, there are no more walls. All the walls have collapsed. I don't know. Maybe they were right. All the doubts start coming in. Let me go back. Then the candle turns back. No, I can't turn back. I can't turn back. Better to die going forward than to turn back. So I am going. My mother taught me that when I'm depressed, I should sing a song. So I'm going to sing a song in the dark. When the dog barks, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. And so this candle, and this song is dedicated to Patty, because she passed away, a dear friend, and she always sang this when she was low, and she sang it at our yoga center. She was my secretary for a few years, and one of the most wonderful, wonderful souls I have ever met, and so crazy with it. I loved it. I loved her eccentricities, just great. So this is for Patty. She sang this often. So anyway, the candle sang this song, did a little dance, and started cheering itself up. And suddenly while it was going and it was praying, oh, prayer, he said, I heard that if I pray, I can touch the higher source. So please, higher source, if there's a light, please let me find you. I'm not giving up. And suddenly, he saw a light in the distance. Light. I've never seen the light. Never seen the light. In my life, I've never seen the light. Light. Hey, family, can you hear me? There's light. The scriptures were right. So he goes, hey, big light, where did you get your light? Can you tell me where you got your light? And the power station light said, oh, very easy, I've always had it. All you have to do is rub against me and you will get my light. Oh, but if I rub against you, I will steal your light. Oh no, you can't steal my light. It's abundant. It's in you, it's in everyone. You just have to rub against me and trust me. So the candle rubs against it. And the candle gets light. So light can never be lost. And when the candle found its own light, thank you, great power source. I am so grateful. I am so grateful. And guess what? Now I can go back and tell my people that what they told me was totally wrong. We may have to go through the dark. We may have to lose all our belief systems. We have to think out of the box, but we have to have courage. And once we go back, once they see my light, they will believe because I am the proof. And the big candle says, Namaste, my friend. Be free and share your light with all. So, sorry candle, didn't mean that. So, in order. So you see, what I'm trying to tell you, when we lose someone, when something is lost, when we lose a home, when we lose our finances, when things go wrong, don't forget, there is that light inside all of us, all of us. We just have to break against all those walls and things that we are taught, oh, you have to suffer for a long time. My poor mom, she was brought up being told that once your husband dies, you never can be happy again. Never. And in fact, in the Indian tradition, after your husband dies, you're never to be married again, never to enjoy anything, never to wear bracelets, never to wear jewelry. This was her mom's husband died, and this is what her mom did. So she felt she had to do the same. But my dad was such a wise man, and 6 months before he passed, he said, Nalanie, when I talk about me dying, and he was 86, nobody wants to talk about it. They all say, no, you're going to live. You have to fight the cancer. You have to fight the cancer. Said, I promised your mom 60 years will have an anniversary. I'll give her the best anniversary, and I'll give her the most incredible diamonds. And I've done it. I've done it. So I'm going to go soon. But nobody wants to take down my words. So he made me write this letter that he didn't want my mother to wear white after he passed, that he wanted her to enjoy all the jewelry, and he wanted her to have a great time. All the years that he bought everything for her was for her. And he's left her a lot and not to worry about a thing, because everything is sorted and she doesn't have one thing to worry about. I thought that was so gracious. And so because of him, we managed, because of that letter, my uncle, which I showed my uncle, who signed it with me, convinced her that after 1 year, she should wear colors again. She insisted on wearing white because it was so deeply entrenched in her brain that she felt guilty. She felt guilty. And we all, 7 children, all of us told her, Mom, Dad did this for you. He please wear it for him. And so she did. So you see, this kind of guilt is society produced. It's not real. And then people have to suffer unnecessarily because of all these boxes we are put into. And we feel obligated to fit in those boxes. But really, as soul, as spirit, we know we are light. We know we are free. We are free. And it is only the thoughts in our mind that imprison us. They imprison us. So that's why when we focus on the higher self, we get stronger and stronger. And then we realize this body is already a prison. Really. This body is a prison. It's just a container. And it can be a prison, and it can be also a temple. All depends on the way we think. If we are so fearful of life, we live in a prison that we created for ourselves. And if we are brave and trust that good times, bad times, they all pass. They all pass. And there's a divine energy, there's God, there is a spirit that is so powerful. And we are part of it. We're part of that light. We carry on and live a beautiful life. And that's what we're born to do. Every spiritual person I know, the real spiritual people, please understand this. My master, Sri Swami Satchidananda, he was always joking. He was always laughing. Dada Baswani lived till 100. Always joking, always laughing, because they live these spiritual views, with this spiritual teaching day after day, And Dada Baswani at 98 had a severe stroke, but his disciples were not ready to let him go. So he lived in a painful body. For 2 more years, he was being carried to satsang on a wheelchair, just to give people his blessing, and smiling. Just smiling, bright like a light, bright like a light. When he reached 100, he died. He gave people time to get used to it. So he was in a sick body for quite some time so that they wouldn't fear him going. When you see somebody suffering actually for a long time, you say, please go, be free. You don't hold on, because they can't be free. So he gave them the chance to be free. I remember a story that, when I went to India once with my parents, Gurudev happened to be in the south, in Coimbatore. And we got a message in Bombay, I was with my parents, that Gurudev had a stroke. He was at that time, I think, 78. So I told my parents, my uncle was with me, we were both disciples of our master. Dad, please, can I just go to Coimbatore for 3 days? I know you have this tour planned out for me. Can I please see my guru? He said, of course you must. So I'm going to buy you the ticket. And my uncle came with me, and we went to Coimbatore. And it had been, I think, a week after he had the stroke, or maybe a little bit more when we got to know him. Anyway, we went to see him, and he was looking so weak. And he said to me, oh, Nalanie, I was dead. I died. And I was so excited I died. I was so happy. I was just floating. And then I heard all these voices crying and crying. You can't go yet. You can't go yet. We're not ready. We are not ready. And he said, and then, boom, the doctor brought me back in the body. He said, I knew I had to come back. And he promised his disciples another 10 years. And he died when he was 88. With an aneurysm, very peacefully, in a hospital. I was told his hands were like that. And goodbye, gone, very peacefully. In India, his home place, and buried in the States, where his, what we call the Mahasamadhi, the burial was. But if you hear the story, and one day I'll tell you, it's a phenomenal story, phenomenal story. He made his disciples in India very happy. He made his disciples in America very happy. This is the death of a yogi. We call it Mahasamadhi, and I hope we all die like that. Comfortably, beautifully, knowing, and leaving all the instructions. He left all the instructions for everybody, all the knowledge, so people already knew. So isn't that a good way to go? You know, so we need to educate our young ones. Don't be afraid. I talk with my grandchildren all the time. I took them in when they were 6 and 8 to touch my husband's hand as he passed away, and said, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. This is part of life. If you see death, you will learn how to live life beautifully. And so we must educate people that death is not fearful. It's just part of all our journeys. Nobody's going to escape it. When? We don't know. So this message, when I talk about death, is not about fear. It's about courage. It is about hope. It is about how to go through your illnesses. Because, you know, sometimes I see people who are so healthy and they get really sick and you wonder how. And then you see people who are smoking till they're 80 and they're still alive and you wonder how. I think so long as you live a good life, balanced diet, balance in everything, moderation, no judgment. You know, there are so many ways to the divine. We don't know what's right for people. And I'm so tired of people lecturing everybody else, because we're not here to do that. We're here to guide people, This is, try to eat like this. Try to do this. Try to do that. What is good for you? This is good for you. Each in our own way. Do exercise. It's good for you because you have a body and we need to do it. So long as you do everything well, and if you still get ill, what do you say? I did my best. It's not a punishment. You did your best. Who knows? You may have given yourself another 4 years. The yogi says our life is measured in breaths. So guess what stress does to you? Do you know what stress does to all of us? I can't breathe. So, how much of your life are you giving away in stress? So remember, overexcitement. How much are you giving away? That's why they say overexcitement is also not good. High brings low lows. So maintain equanimity of mind, balance. Something good happens, gratitude. Secret, just be grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Rather than, do you see what I'm saying? I'm so grateful. Tune in to the higher source in your great moments. Tune in. When you do that, in your bad moments, you will automatically tune in. Help me. This is difficult for me. I need help. And it will guide you to where to get help. It's so phenomenal, this power. It is our deep voice within us. And when we recognize that voice, when we listen, please listen to your inner voice and not the voice of society and the world. I'm not saying everybody is going to give you a wrong message, but many people are living in little boxes of judgment, and this is right and this is wrong, but they don't know your soul, and they don't know your heart, and they don't know where you are. We are all different, you know. And if you have the knowledge, live it. You know, I know many people who have the knowledge. They do. I've known them for years. And then they keep repeating the same mistake over and over. They say sorry. They have guilt. What's the point if you keep doing it again? Correct or incorrect? If you say sorry, don't do it again. You do it again and again and again. After a while, people don't trust you anymore. They don't trust you. Your word means nothing. So, when we live in this world, a word has to mean something. Just because you have spiritual knowledge, it doesn't keep you exempt. You're not exempt. So I see this, and people will come to me and they make the same mistakes. Oh, I feel so guilty. And I go, you know what? You're God's child. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm done. You know the secret. You know where to go. You know what is right. You know what is wrong. You just don't want to. So, I can't do any more for you. Can you? Same with children, right? Children, when they come into your life, you tell them off, you guide them. They don't listen. There has to come a cut-off point. There has to come a cut-off point. You have to say, okay, umbilical cord, grow up. Otherwise, two of you, for the rest of your life, nobody lives. Because one is controlling and manipulating, and then the sadness comes. I've seen this. I have seen this with children with, problems, and they manipulate the parents again and again and again and again. Manipulation. And then I go, you don't deserve it. Of course you love them. Of course you love them. Who can even doubt that? The only one that hasn't seen that is the child. And maybe when you stay apart for a little while, they'll realize how precious you are. I remember, simple example. My children used to complain. My daughter was, they were young when they went to boarding school. So at home, oh mom, do I have to fix the bed? Oh mom, do I have to do this? I said, it's good training. Come on, let's do it together. So I'd do it with them. Oh mom. First holiday back from boarding school, so grateful. Oh mom, thank you for the delicious food. Oh mom, you're the best. Oh mom, thanks for fixing our cupboards. Oh mom, do you see? You do it all the time, they complain. Then you guide them, still complain. They go away, they see the rest of the world. Oh, we're so lucky to have you and dad. The rest of the world isn't the same. Okay, it's a great lesson. Do you see? It's a great lesson. So this happens with death as well. There's so many things that relate in life and death. We understand life, we understand death.